Well, hello, this is your host Eric of the GMODISM channel, and we are back here into the depth. Very funny. Anyways, so some people have complained at me at Reddit and in my YouTube comments about Spall liners being useless. I don't know if it is. I think it's not. When I tested it last time, it was very useful to have still after the update, but maybe there happened another update that I just missed or something like that. So we're gonna redo the tests in this little empirical testing video. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, a Spall liner is basically a material that's a bit squishier and softer that goes on the inside of armor to make spalls not as scary. Now, spalls in From the Depth is basically only against a HESH specifically, because the HESH spalls are dependent on the armor class of the material it hits, where the last layer is calculated some extra bits. I don't remember the calculation in my head, but this is empirical testing. We don't need the calculations. We're gonna do the tests and see real world data. Yeah, so basically it kind of makes the spalls a bit softer. It doesn't work for heat, because when heat basically brings its own projectiles. So it doesn't really care about you having a Spall liner in From the Depth. So this is specifically to counter HESH. And if you wonder why this may be relevant, well, it's in my recent hull armoring guide. I do recommend having a Spall liner for two reasons. It will give you extra flotation for very cheap, because wood is the best health point block for the cost, but it also is a good defense against HESH. It's a really good place to have wood. So yeah, I don't think it's like, if it turns out that you don't like this Spall liner doesn't do much, I think still it's useful to have, just for that extra flotation points. Right, so we are going to load our guns here. We are going to set up this little shell. And it is already a HESH shell, so we're just going to assign this to all of them by clicking this red button. Beautiful, and then these should all be loaded. Beautiful, and we have our HESH shells here. These are 400mm as of right now. We can change them a little bit later. And to be smart, we should be using the, wherever is that, Shift E menu, damage debugging, record. We need to projectile, oh yeah, projectile effects. Beautiful. So then we can just bring down the game speed to very slow, and basically just click fire. Bam! Look at that. Okay, so now it is time to check out what happened over here. I think they basically got hit by the same. And if we are in... Like, do you have to go to this object to see it, maybe? Oh crap. I of course need to turn it on for this vehicle. It's another vehicle, so yeah. Damage debugging. There we have it, projectile effects. We just click a repair all, and we just do a simple fire again. Come on. Thank you. Fire. All right. So here we have our data, our stats. If we check out these here, we can see we do have a... Okay. So, reviewing the data. Spalling released at this point 14 fragmentations of 21 armor pairs. 40 fragments of 40 armor pairs. So 40, 21. 3,000 damage. It's a little bit more damage, but mostly the thing that got decreased is the AP value. The AP value is now... This is 40 for these, meaning these... Well, this probably did full damage, right? Do they all have the same? They kind of have a little bit differing kinetic damage, but you can see it's 40 AP. And if you know you're from the depth, that armor piercing point is exactly how much AP metal has. So it does perfect damage against this metal then. And if we go to this side, we can see they had armor. They had an AP value of 21, of course. That's a lot less kinetic damage. Oh, it's a bit varied, of course. It does that. Anyways, if we look at the superficial damage, the one with the Spall liner is... no difference there. And 1, 2, 3. We're missing 3 blocks here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus 1. Yeah, it broke into this layer too. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so a lot of more blocks did get destroyed where we did not have the Spall liner. If we just fire a few shots more, and we can see the total damage being dealt. Now you can see it has dug through the metal armor, so it's not really relevant to shoot anymore. But we can see that this has leaked through into the internal armor piece, and this side has not. Now the question is, of course, we're just gonna redo this, bam, to make sure that it's consistent. And now you can see it broke through here. So that is much more similar for this round, even though more block on this side was destroyed. And for the second round, it goes in hard into the interior armor, almost killing this rubber. They're like real internals. And for this, it's unscathed. Yeah, so here, of course, we have an extra layer of material. What if we give it the benefit to the non-Spall liner side? And we instead have like an extra meter of metal, so we have the same thickness of our armor, just one side of the armor is just so much like this is, and this is so much stronger, and this is so much weaker. This is so much more inexpensive too. And I think we deserve a little bit of a slow-mo here, right? So fire. Bam. Interesting. So here we can see we got a good chunk of blocks missing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And on this side we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Alrighty. And if we fire again, bam. You can see this side here does... It's not penetrated. Neither is this. So pretty similar for 2 shots. I think we need to repair these. Oops. Oh no! I accidentally clicked the G button, which tests the angle. Let's see here. Yes. Yeah, and it's not the G button because I have rebound mine. So I have simul mode on mine. It's actually a bit more realistic to test over here. Not that it matters, but whatever. Okay, we clear and we fire again. Bam. So the one with 3 meters of metal. This time took a lot more damage, this being a good bit less. And if we fire again, bam. Both are kind of broken through, but if we just look superficially on these, we can see that this layer with the Spall liner is in a lot better health, even though they penetrated about as deep. Thanks to the Spall liner, and this side of the material is actually cheaper. Like this armor is cheaper. So for HESH, you save a lot of material and you have a slightly better performing armor. Now, I wonder, however, what would happen if we instead... I don't think I want slow motion mode anymore. I'm gonna remove that. But what if we have like 3 meters of metal on this side as well? And the Spall liner, and on this side we just don't have that. Oh, I forgot. I don't want that. I think we need to be over there, and then just fire. Bam. So, for this side, yeah, the damage dealt there is a lot less. A lot fewer of those beam slopes got deleted. And if we fire again, we can see bam. It's starting to leak through here, and this side is still holding up. You can see there is a slight but consistent advantage to having the Spall liner. It does penetrate into the armor a lot slower. Now we already taken some damage here and we're still unscathed there. Now we basically don't have any layer anymore, so this is kind of not relevant because of course at that shot we basically hit wood, which means the spalls that were fired were pretty weak. And here we're starting to break into it. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So I now kinda wonder one thing that I found was pretty useful when I tested this last time, and I must say I think the results are kinda, I don't know if it changed since I tested this last time. It seems to still be a slight advantage to it. And of course that cheap health point and that float. But anyways, I do find that having a real like air gap does help a lot. So if we instead remove the real air gap and have it just being flush like this, I'm a bit curious to see, will a Spall liner be vital in this type of scenario or not? So now we have like 2 meters of Spall lining here. And we're just gonna test that. So instead of having a real empty space, which is of course really good against thump and plasma, but let's ditch that and have like 2 meters of wooden Spall liner. Because in my test I find that having like a real air gap is good against HESH as well. And now we can see they have an AP of 22 for this, because we have of course more metal to go through. And for this we have 40, of course it's like the base. It's almost like this keeps it much less spread out, but you can see the damage is more substantial there. Bam. So if we fire again, we got some scary stuff going on there. Okay. I'm just gonna remove the damage debugging for a second. Gonna fire these again. Yeah. Kind of same results. And of course, now our side with the Spall liner is actually the more expensive, thicker armor. So, if this side has a full air gap, and this side does not have a full air gap, but they both have 2 meters of metal going on here. Oops. And this just has like 1 layer of Spall lining, but it's sitting flush. So this is like for saving space. Can it be worth it to ditch the full air gap and replace it with a solid Spall liner? Now this leaves us vulnerable to thump and plasma, but just for the sake of testing, could you switch your empty space with a bit of wood and make that be useful? Oh, bam. Let's fire again. Looks like, actually looks like it from the first shot. Bam. Less clear this time, but I think... Do we have more blocks missing here? Like 3 blocks? And here like 3 blocks, right? It's very similar. Fire again. We're losing more here. Or are we? Kind of similar. So having a full air gap is of course very, very, very vital. It gives almost the same protection as an extra Spall liner. Like if you, yeah, having just an empty space is about as good as replacing the empty space with wood, it seems like. But it depends on some scenarios, the angle we're hitting. Now we're hitting dead on, so we have to have that in our calculations. But basically, it seems that leaving a completely empty space, if you are facing HESH, is not better than replacing that empty space with a Spall liner. But to show my point, I'm going to set up a little like Reddit armor here, as I call them. We can just have like 2 meters of metal and then just a tight air gap behind it, nothing more. And then we compare that with what if we like made this armor pretty HESH stable, like how I would build my main armor. 2 meters of metal and 1 layer of wood backing it up behind it, just like that. And we can now compare these results. I think it's going to be pretty clear here. Bam, look at that. With no air gap and no Spall liner, it's almost ripping through this era layer directly. Of course, this era doesn't protect against anything but direct hits against HESH, really. And here, it removed only those, so it didn't penetrate very deep. Fire again, bam. So a little bit more into the combat. This is going into the internal armor components, and this is still completely safe. We fire again. This still holds up. This is broken through to the internals. So here the internals have been damaged, and here the interior armor hasn't even been damaged yet. Yeah, I think it looks like it's still worth it to have a Spall liner. I must say that. I don't know if you want me to do any extra testing here. For little ending section, I just want to show you like the least optimal type of armor Like, if we have metal backed up by heavy armor, really strong surface layer, but it should be pretty detrimental against the HESH. And I'm a little bit curious. Rubber has the least AP, right? So if we switch this side to rubber, will it be even better than wood? I'm not 100% sure, because it was a long time I tested rubber. But anyways, let us then fire. Oh, this is like, okay, oh yeah, well this is 2 meter metal, and okay, yeah, well, whatever. Bam. Okay, so here we have a, oh, look at that. The AP is 40. Rubber is shit. Rubber is shit as Spall liner. You can't use rubber as a Spall liner, can you? 40 AP? What the fuck? And if we look at this here, we have 55 AP. A lot thanks to the heavy armor piece there. Okay, we're gonna have to replace this with wood, because wood is obviously the strongest Spall liner in that case. Okay, here we go again. Bam. And now we have an AP of 21. Got it. Some people use stone for Spall liner too, if you want to have some of the effect, but really want to have a pretty tanky build. Then stone is really cool too. Stone is a really tanky block. You get a lot of health points for a very little material. This is like 55. So you can see this, bam, just superficial damage. And this is actually honestly also just superficial damage. Yeah, but if this was tighter together, it would rip through faster. If we fire a few blocks more, you know. The thing is too, that these pieces now do 55 AP and metal only has 40 AP. So it doesn't actually, it's actually not much worse than if we had just 2 meters of metal and no Spall liner. To really see the difference, we'd have to replace this Spall catching layer with heavy armor. Then we should really see a big difference. If you have heavy armor Spall catcher, having a Spall liner has even more effect than in any of the previous scenarios. It's just that having heavy armor as a Spall catcher is pretty expensive, so a lot of people end up not using it, but some people really want to have really expensive good armor, and this is for you guys. So if you have, you know, yeah, just for the heck of it, what if you had like solid heavy armor as exterior, like that, like really strong armor, just like that? Can the HESH shockwave get through this, and how much damage will it deal? Let's check this. Okay, here goes the testing. Bam. Look at that. All right, let's see here. What does this say? Wait, what? Armor class 0? No, you have to be kidding me. Are the things showing up even? I don't know. It's like, this is like the angle it hit at. It's 7 AC, okay. This 0 AC, are you kidding me? Okay. Let's fire a few rounds more. Bam. Just collect some data. Oh, bam. Okay, now it did penetrate a little bit too far here. Yeah, so here you can see that this is 40 AP. Because, of course, we destroyed... Yeah, we penetrated too deep in this one. It can't be 40 AP, but until it penetrated, it really held up. And for this side, bam. Oh, look at that. It almost got through to the internals. Yeah, it's pretty close. So yeah, we can at least say that this side protected a lot better than this side. And you know, 1 meter of heavy armor costs as much as 25 meter of wood. So a more accurate representation of this test, if we're gonna be like fair, I guess we should have like, I don't know, like a really thick slab. It's gonna be like 25 meters thick, but of course I don't want to do that. So I'm just doing like this and just slapping on some metal on the surface so we can test it in a bit more fair setup, since yeah, this armor is still a lot cheaper than this armor, a lot cheaper, just so you know. And if we start pummeling this with HESH, you can see who's gonna survive the longest. Oh, it's actually this. Well, maybe I need to do the test a little bit more fair than actually having those big bulk. Yeah, so if you want strong armor that's not really bulky, heavy armor is of course the answer, but yeah. One thing that can be interesting to keep in mind too is of course that it's really, for this test, it's really relevant only after, before the, like, these Spall catchers are destroyed. You can see the first 2 shots, the Spall catchers, even though they are heavy armor, they are pretty destroyed at this side, and on this side they are barely touched. And if you fire more, this goes through there, and if you fire a bit more, bam, nothing happens here. And a bit more, and you can see now it's starting to damage them a little bit, but we also have like 2 meters of wood left. And for this side, oh, on this side we already went through to the internals this time. Well then, I think we must conclude this empirical testing. Thanks to our little platform Mark III, which is downloadable if you want it in the Steam Workshop. And if you're a commissioned officer, you have access to these testing guns as well as sub-objects. With that, I will say big thank you to the commissioned officers in the army of GMODISM, most notably the Admiral Dragon X62, Commodore the All-Around Gamer, Commanders Ali Ben Wilkie, Cameron Dixon, Sven van der Velde, Lieutenants Anto Cravey, Daniel Saikin, Owen Powerbrick Reed, Vincent Veritas, Volkite, Rick Pearl, and Scuba Rocks, and to all the cadets and everyone in the ecclesiarchy and government of GMODISM. This has been your host, Eric of the GMODISM Empire. I hope you enjoyed this little testing. Write what you think in the comments about this test. Did I miss something? Should we test something else? Do you still not agree that a Spall liner can be useful against HESH? It only helps against HESH. Or do you still think that HESH is such a rare, outdated weapon that you never meet, so you just don't need to think about anti-heshing your hulls? Well, tell me in the comments. This is your host, Eric. I'm signing out. Have a good day.